These are 10 of my favorite building mods in Ark Survival Ascended, and this is all mods that you need to install server side or in your single player to use. If you're looking for 10 of my favorite custom cosmetics, check out the different video I already made on those. These mods range from actual structure mods that add a bunch of new building pieces for you to work with and build the things of your dreams, whether it's going full medieval, expanding the existing building structure system, or adding some cool new rustic feels to your game. And besides that, I have a bunch of other mods that add a bunch of the details that I use in many of my builds, like the pathways, the decor around and inside of the base, and of course all the greenery, the plants, the trees, the bushes, etc. that I use to bring more life to my builds. Hello there, survivors, and welcome back to another video in Ark Survival Ascended. As always, if you enjoy seeing videos like this of my favorite mods or cosmetics, things that I use a lot for my builds, and you want to keep seeing more like these, let me know down in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Really appreciate all the support. And first up, we've got CKF, or Castle, Keeps and Forts, which is probably the best mod to use if you want to do some medieval buildings, whether you want to make a small little village, a whole town, or even build a city, a castle, you name it. This mod has a lot of cool structures to offer, from some really nice looking detailed structure pieces to some really cool utilities and decor options as well, and more being on the way too. So the way that this mod works, it is a freemium mod, meaning you can use 2 tiers for free: the settler tier, which has awesome wooden textures, as well as the village tier. But if you want to have the keep tier, so the stone tier for your castles, then you'll need to get the premium version. But it's definitely well worth it, and even without paying for it, you have a lot of structures to use, and you can get some really cool builds going before you decide whether you want to upgrade or not. Besides that, there's also a bunch of utilities, replacing some of the base game structures so that you can make them fit in with this style, as well as a bunch of deco options just to bring more life to the place. And the best part about some of these is that it adds a lot of animation, so like water wheels and windmills, etc., to bring even more life to your builds, which is just very, very exciting. But yeah, most importantly, it just adds a bunch of cool building pieces, of course. As you can see here in my medieval town, that looks absolutely cool. I especially love all of these steeper pieces, the extra snap points in some cases, especially for the pillars, etc. The arches, all the smaller pieces, like the smaller slope walls, the gables, the smaller quarter pieces, etc. Just really gives you a bunch of new opportunities that you can't have with the base game. But good news, if you do play an official or a server that doesn't have this mod installed, there's also a cosmetic version available now. Of course, it does have slightly less options than the actual mod, but it's a good alternative if you can't have the mod, or you don't have the mod on the server that you play on. But yeah, as you can see, it's a really cool themed mod. It adds a bunch of awesome pieces, and you can do some really cool medieval build projects with this one. Then next up is ASR, which is another really cool build structure mod that basically expands the vanilla building system in the way it really should have been. And especially some of the pieces just feels like a no-brainer, like having diagonal pillars, having all sorts of structures like the steeper roof pieces and everything to go with that, just to make the default build system a little bit more versatile. But besides that, it also adds a bunch of variants to the base game structure, so different textures, for example, having clean wood structures on both sides, or having stone structures without the wooden beams attached, so you can go for that cleaner look on both sides of the walls. But also adding brand new textures for roofs, walls, etc., so you really can have a lot more variety in your builds without having to rely on custom cosmetics. And the best thing about this mod is also just it feels still very natural and real to Ark because it's mostly using things that look like the base game structures. But it also adds a ton of really good functionality like the televator, so you can teleport up and down in a base. You have a bunch of other utilities and there's even more furniture being added to the mod now to really make sure that you can do it all. So if you want to keep the vanilla feel of the game, but still expand the build system a little bit, this one is definitely one that I would always recommend, and one that I never go without. And then there's Klingers additional rustic structures, another building mod that adds a bunch of cool structures to the game with a nice rustic aesthetic that I feel is still very true to the core Ark experience. There's a few different tiers that it offers. There's the wooden set, which is really nice. You've got the pillars with the ropes as well. And you've got this, this first set, which is kind of like a more Viking or at least colder aesthetic, which again has some really nice textures to it. And then there's also a stone set to keep in the same spirit. But yeah, you can see it still feels very true to Ark. It has some really cool features like those arched pieces that you can use for supports. And yeah, it's just a really nice looking set. Now there is a custom cosmetic version available of this, but I'm not entirely sure if that offers all of the same structures or just some of it. But yeah, it's a really nice looking structure set which just feels right at home in Ark. It adds some utilities as well in some really cool looks. And yeah, you can see you can do a bunch of cool builds with this. This is a little Viking village that we built a while ago. And this is actually built that Lance did here with an awesome longhouse. But yeah, you can see how these rustic structures just add a little bit more character to the game compared to the base game structure. So another really cool set that I can definitely recommend playing with. And then there's JVH Landscaping, which allows you to add a bunch of plants, trees, and other details from the Ark world to your own game, placing them by hand so you can make the world feel alive again, and especially really useful to make your builds blend in with the existing landscape and just get some really cool things going. Whether you just want to add a bunch of details to your build with a bunch of greenery everywhere, or you maybe want to transform a location to look like something different, this is a great way to just go crazy with those details. I like to add, a little bit of greenery on roofs sometimes, or just as I did here, just kind of blend the build in with the existing landscape, and it adds a bunch of life. Of course, you've got the bushes, but also all of those trees around the outside here. It's all JVH. There's a lot of features. They also added a bunch of the newer map features in it, like the Ragnaroks and stuff, which have some amazing details to them, and it's just a great way to bring some additional life to it and kind of change the world to fit your needs a little bit. We won't really have proper landscaping in Ark, of course, but this gets pretty close, and you can get some really cool builds done or add a lot of life and details to your existing builds. Another mod that I use a lot, and you might have seen if you've watched a bunch of videos on my channel, is Fery's pathways, and that's how I add all of those custom pathways to a bunch of my build projects, especially for town and villages. This is a great way to connect your builds without having to kind of foundation spam everything and connect it in such a way. It feels a little bit more natural. Usually there's a ton of variations as well for the different pathway blocks available, and it's just a really good way to kind of connect a bunch of different builds together. And yeah, it's a very simple thing in the essence, of course, but it just adds a lot of nice options for you to kind of connect a bunch of different builds, and that's why you will see me use it very often. There's a few mods on this list that you'll always kind of see me combining in different ways, like the Fery's pathways, like the JVH, as you can see over here, of course, to add a bunch of life to this place. And then there's also even some Western deco items like these cards to add a bunch more life. But yeah, Fery's Pathways, a great addition to connect your different builds, especially if you're working on villages, towns, etc., and you want to make it feel a little bit more realistic. Then there's the Western Deco mod, which of course, as the name suggests, is great for your Western builds. Like we had it on the Western event that I hosted last year. Great fit for that, of course. It has a bunch of deco options available, but I still use it very often also for builds that are definitely very much not Western. As you can see here in my Greek town, you can see a bunch of these cards. That's all from the Western Deco mod, and they just help bring a bunch of life to the place. But besides that, there's even more things like these little water barrels where you can drink from, but also the hay bales and the little hay heaps on the ground, which is a great way to add a lot of detail to your builds. It's all from that Western Deco mod. The cards are always a great addition, but even over here, this little fence around this area in front of the stables, as well as this little gateway here, that's all the Western Deco mod, and it's just a great way to add a bunch of life and detail to your place, even if you're not necessarily doing some Western builds. But you can see here we've got more of the different hay bales as well as the hay on the ground. There's a lot of decoration options in the Western Deco mod that can be even amazing for your base builds if you're not doing a specifically Western build, although of course it will shine out the most if you go full Western, which I still think is a great theme to fit into ARK. It is of course one of the best custom skins that we got from ARK themselves with the Frontier skins, and this mod just adds a bunch of decor that fits right into that kind of vibe. Then there's also the Castlecraft Deco mod, which adds a bunch of cool decor options for your castles, of course. And this is great if you're doing more of a medieval build. Again, I've got some features here in my Greek town. You can see these bows, which actually get added if you add more bows in the inventory of it. You also have one over here. You've got a bunch of different signs for your buildings, so you can make them look a lot cooler. You've got the same thing for lancers, other weapons. We've got a bunch of decor options available, and many more if you want to decorate your entire castle. So yeah, for medieval builds, it's a great addition again to add that little bit of extra life to your builds to really bring it all out. So yeah, if you like doing medieval builds, using the Castlecraft Deco mod is definitely recommended. And then another great mod is Scribbles, and this you use to get better signs, and then you can have smaller, bigger signs. You can customize the fonts, the text, etc. But the most exciting feature is actually being able to customize your signs into a custom image. You can upload images like this. You can hide the signs, so you can get some really cool deco options that you can fully make yourself. Of course, this works best if you can actually design some signs yourself. We have Mr. Wild Times on our cluster, and he's an absolute madman when it comes to signs, so he adds cool little things like this, like a little bit of blood in front of the butcher, but also the entire inside of the shop there, just to make it all feel even more alive. And there's a bunch of other cool signs that he's made, but you can see you can use this to add a bunch more character and details to your builds that you can't do with any of the pieces that any mod can offer, because this one you can fully customize to your own needs, as long as of course you can make some signs yourself. But you can even of course just look for images online that you want to add to your builds. That's why it is a really cool mod to have to add some extra character and personalization to your base builds. And another good deco mod is wall and floor deco. It actually adds a bunch of different options for different kind of builds. Like it has some medieval things, it's got some modern things. One of the things I like the most are these natural creature nests that you can place down in different sizes. Really good for your dormers displays. But you can also make different eggs. Pretty much every creature, I think, you can craft the eggs. So for example here, I've got the wyvern eggs in my display, which is just a really cool addition. And then we also have a bunch of nests, of course, around to add even more decorations in. We have rock drake eggs too. So yeah, there's just a bunch of little cool details that you can add with this cosmetic. But of course, it also has a ton of good furniture, like these chairs are also from wall and floor. It's just a really nice one to use for your builds, and I definitely still need to explore more. But yeah, it has some really good furniture options to bring some life and detail to your base in a bunch of different styles, which makes it a pretty good addition for whatever project you're working on. And then there's visual storage, and that basically tells you everything you need to know. The name, it is a storage mod, but it is very visual. For example, you can see the bits of iron metal in here. We have some more storage out over here. So it basically adds storage options that are very nice to look at and that you can use as part of the deco inside of your base. As you can see over here, a bunch of the big storage bins. You can see the wood pieces in there, some rocks, etc. It's a little bit empty here, but you know, you get the drift here. We have more pieces off to the side. We have some hide here along the walls. We have a bunch of these different barrels with different items in them. We've got some crystal here. It's basically a very nice visual way to go about your storage, and that just adds a bunch of character, I think, to your base builds, because you can actually see the items that you've got stored away. It just feels more realistic, it feels more natural, and it just helps bringing your base a little bit to life. Like if you compare it to dedicated storage and then you see all of these cool pieces everywhere, I think this is definitely a really cool way to go. And especially if you maybe go for a little bit more of a medieval style, this is of course a perfect way to do your storage, because it doesn't break the aesthetic as much as maybe some of the other options available in normal ARK. And then it also has a bunch of useful features. Of course, you have cranes to quickly unload your dinos, go automatically sorted into your storage systems. It uses wireless crafting like dedicated storage. So besides it being very nice to look at, it's actually also pretty functional. So yeah, no matter what you're doing, definitely can recommend some visual storage for your base build projects. And there we go. Those are the top 10 building mods that I use a lot of and that I also all have on my community clusters. It's great mods to build with, whether you're looking for some cool structure mods or all of the decoration options to add even more life and character to your builds. If you're looking for servers to play on with all of these mods included, at least of the time of recording this, then go and check out my community cluster. It's free to join. All you need to do is join my Discord and you'll find all the information on there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy seeing these types of videos and you would like to see more, let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hopefully will see you again in the next video or the next stream. For now, goodbye.